Sunwoon becomes one of the gods and now has to choose his first starting race. At first, he considers the frogmen since he received insect-related powers, but he quickly drops that idea. Their tribes number over 500, and with such a massive population, influencing them would be way too difficult right now. So instead, he starts looking for a smaller race in trouble. That's when he notices a group of expelled lizardmen, and they're perfect. They're weak, exhausted, wounded, and mostly elderly. Cast out from their lands, they've completely lost hope. For Sunwoon, this is the ideal starting point to conquer the world. Before all of this, Sunwoon was an unbeatable player in the strategy game Perished World for many years. One day, after a final match, he's suddenly pulled straight into the game, and he isn't alone. The best players from other worlds are dragged in as well. Their mission is simple: rule civilizations as gods and lead them to ultimate domination. The last god standing becomes the true god of this world, gaining everything. Those who fail face total death. Back to the Lizardmen. Given their current condition, Sunwoon can easily become their god. All it takes is a single miracle. And he decides to start with the weakest one of all, a wounded lizardman barely able to keep up with the tribe. As the injured and starved lizardmen force their way through the desert, they all freeze in shock when they see an injured animal lying helplessly on the ground, basically served up for them to devour. The desperate lizardmen don't even think for a second before jumping onto the unsuspecting prey, going absolutely batshit crazy, wanting to have it all for themselves. The elderly and sick in the back feel utterly crushed, knowing there won't be anything left for them to eat. The healthy lizardmen tear through all the flesh and the tasty parts, leaving nothing but bones behind. The greedy bunch even decide to nibble on the leftover bones, until one of the benevolent lizardmen stops them. He grabs all the remaining bones and offers them to the sick and old ones to eat. Those poor guys are grateful even for bones, eating as if it's the last meal of their lives. The healthy lizardmen feel dissatisfied by their benevolent friend's gesture. For them, letting the old and sick eat such insubstantial scraps is a waste, since they're not going to survive for long anyway. Their wounds have only gotten worse. It's a miracle they're even alive at this point. But the benevolent lizardman reminds them of the time when one of the injured, namely Rakrak, risked his life and defended them against a saber-tooth. So instead of being selfish, they should be grateful. Still, it doesn't change the fact, at least to the healthy lizardmen, that injured and sick people are eventually going to die. They keep arguing back and forth until night descends and everyone finally falls asleep. While everyone sleeps soundly, Rakrak struggles with the rotting wound on his shoulder. As he groans, he notices a blue butterfly seemingly trying to get his attention. Eventually, Rakrak stands up and begins following the beautiful critter. A few of the lizardmen notice Rakrak leaving and assume he's probably abandoning the lounge for good. But Rakrak? He's simply driven by curiosity. He's noticed something peculiar up above and wants to see what it is exactly. Maybe he's imagining things, since he's the only one who reacted to it. Even if it's just an illusion, he wants to check, and once he gets up there, he finds an entire buffet of beetles stuck together. Rakrak is pleasantly shocked, realizing he's found enough food for everyone to feast on. With this first revelation, Nebula is one step closer to acquiring a race. The amount of beetles he sent is enough to feed the entire lounge for a few days. It's quite surprising to Nebula that these guys are sharing their blessing with each other without making any fuss. This just shows how strong-willed these people are. Eventually, Rakrak decides to put his faith in the god who fed them. He names him the Nameless Beetle God. This comes as yet another surprise to Nebula, who was sure his god name would be related to butterflies. Nonetheless, he's happy to acquire a race, and especially happy with this candidate named Rakrak, a kind-hearted and selfless lizardman who chose to share the blessing with everyone. Nebula is convinced this guy will become a crucial asset in his civilization building. A few days pass, and the lizardmen finally find their sanctuary. The wound that had been plaguing Rakrak has finally healed too. It's all thanks to the blessing of the Nameless Beetle God, or at least that's what Rakrak believes. He even tries convincing others about the existence of the benevolent one who descended these blessings upon him. His wound healing overnight is proof enough for him. Hell, his shoulder scar is even covered with black scales, similar to a beetle. Now, with these blessings in tow, Rakrak is confident in himself and wants to go buffalo hunting. To prove his newfound strength, and the power of the blessings his fellows are struggling to believe, he takes his stance and chucks the spear as hard as he can, obliterating the target tree. Everyone's jaw hit the fucking floor after seeing this display of astronomical strength that practically transcended lizardman physiology. To understand how they even found this place, and why Rakrak is so dead set on hunting a buffalo, we jump back a few days. Rakrak is once again following those same hallucination-like visions, and the group is excited at the prospect that they might hit yet another beetle jackpot. They eagerly follow the path only Rakrak's visions have been able to notice. But Rakrak warns them that winter is coming, and the beetles keep appearing from the direction of the cold winds. If they keep going that way, they might freeze to death. This deeply concerns his fellow lizardmen, who wonder if they should even be following the path Rakrak's visions are pushing him toward. Rakrak himself can't confirm whether the visions are leading them anywhere meaningful. Since they have no alternatives, he can only rely on the visions and keep following. Turns out, the reason Rakrak doubts these visions is because Nebula still lacks enough faith. If it weren't for Rakrak, Nebula doubts he'd be able to influence anything at all. For now, all he can hope is that Rakrak keeps believing. Only then will he be able to lead them toward an unimaginable future. Despite not knowing where the visions truly lead, Rakrak continues following them, and they eventually arrive at a sanctuary. This unexpected salvation spikes everyone's faith. The nameless beetle god has led them to their haven. Nebula's god level jumps by 1, officially making it level 2. His sub-area also increases by 1. This level up unlocks a new skill, Insect Sanctification. This skill lets Nebula choose and designate a priest, and obviously Rakrak is the only fitting candidate for this role. The blessing bestowed upon Rakrak will help him spread the god's will. Later that night, as Rakrak sleeps peacefully among his kin, he hears someone calling his name and drifts into a dream world. There, he meets a mysterious person who extends a hand forward. As Rakrak reaches out to grasp it, a water buffalo skull suddenly appears in his hand. Rakrak instinctively understands what he's supposed to do. He raises the skull and adorns the mysterious figure's head with it. And just like that, the nameless beetle god finally manifests before Rakrak's eyes. It's his first time seeing him, and by morning, he tells everyone about the strange dream. In turn, his kin ask about the god's intentions, and why Rakrak believes this mysterious deity is asking for a buffalo sacrifice. To hunt a buffalo, they'll need to venture into deep wilderness, which is an extremely dangerous risk. But they can't forget that the one demanding a buffalo is the same being who led them to safety. Still, one lizardman continues to voice his disapproval, pointing out that a hunt like this would require the entire lounge to participate, putting everyone in danger. Even Rakrak admits he can't afford to endanger the entire lounge. That said, the hunt will still happen, but he'll go alone. Back in the present, right after Rakrak showcases his newfound strength coursing through his body, strong enough to obliterate trees, the entire lounge is in pleasant disbelief. The wise old lizard even questions the sheer absurdity of it all. Rakrak was once a guy on the brink of death with a rotting wound, but now, bro is out here smashing trees with javelin throws. As if luck is on their side, Rakrak spots an entire herd of buffalo down the hill. It's nothing short of a miracle to see buffalo here. A buffalo herd always migrates to the same place they are already familiar with, so the fact that this herd got lost and wandered here doesn't make sense at all. Rakrak doesn't bother with the nitty-gritty explanations and charges forward like a starved beast craving blood. All he cares about is hunting and feeding the people he cares about. With a single swing, he strikes one buffalo right in the skull, taking it down instantly. Rakrak becomes the trailblazer for the lounge, giving everyone the confidence to storm the field with their weapons. Later that day, the whole lounge gathers, stacks all the buffalo skulls, and hangs an entire buffalo upside down as a sacrifice. With everything prepared, Rakrak begins the prayers. Everyone joins in, praying for the benevolent nameless beetle god to accept their sacrifices. Nebula watches everything from the skies. The offering is somewhat half-baked, but what truly matters is their sincerity. And the staggering amount of faith Nebula just received proves exactly that. That's why Nebula isn't complaining. Honestly, it's pretty decent for a novice priest. Nebula definitely deserves that juicy faith boost, especially considering how much time and effort he's poured into these lizardmen. Right now, the real problem is figuring out how the lizardmen will sustain themselves. Since Nebula isn't the god of grass or wilderness, he can't make grass grow or produce water out of thin air. But keep in mind that he is the god of insects. Previously, he used insects, mainly grasshoppers. He used these critters to destroy grasslands and lure the buffalo out of the mountains. But at the moment, the lizardmen have zero awareness of how to raise animals. They literally ate even the baby buffalo instead of raising it. Then again, Nebula knows expecting cattle-raising knowledge at this stage is way too much. This oasis also isn't strong enough to support a large population in the future. The lizardmen will only survive a few years if things continue like this. Right now, they know nothing about farming or herding, making their future look bleak. Of course, knowledge and skills aren't things you can magically learn overnight, and teaching them directly would break the rules. It's going to take time, but Nebula is certain they'll eventually get on the right track. He initiates the process by bestowing a small blessing on his current priest. The following day after the sacrifice, Rakrak is examining the altar made from buffalo bones. Last night, he had a very disturbing dream, one that felt vague yet deeply unsettling. When his friend Zayal asks further about it, Rakrak explains that in the dream, the altar trembled precariously. Their oasis was drying up. There were no fish left to catch, and the ground had been over-farmed to the point that growing more plants had become impossible. But Zayal believes they have nothing to worry about, since their god is clearly taking good care of them. Rakrak also believes in their god wholeheartedly, and he has immense confidence. But what if the things shown in that dream were actually warnings? If they fail to understand these signs and don't act accordingly, it would be no different from going against their god's will. That's exactly what's making Rakrak's nerves snap. As he perches atop the altar, he notices something alarming and calls Zayal over to look. Far off in the distance, they see a group marching straight toward their oasis. Rakrak immediately realizes why the altar trembled in his dream. Judging by the formation and the dust cloud, this herd of lizardmen heading their way is definitely not good news. Rakrak and his friend instantly recognize them: their blue scales, their hulking size, and the beasts they're riding. It all signals one thing: the Blue Leather Tribe, the very same tribe that stole their previous home and forced Rakrak's group into exile. From the looks of it, these guys are searching for the next place to occupy and destroy. Since the oasis isn't visible from afar, they've coincidentally marched right in this direction. Rakrak can only hope they'll pass by without noticing anything. Or so they thought, until a loudmouth scout from the oasis shouts at the Blue Leather Tribe, immediately grabbing their attention. They've messed up, but Rakrak refuses to see this as misfortune. Maybe this is actually for the better. Maybe it's a mission their god wants them to accomplish. A mission to assimilate the lizardmen captured by the Blue Leather Tribe. It's a mission to merge the Blue Leather Tribe with his people. It has to be the god's will. Otherwise, there's no way their deity would drive their old rivals straight toward the oasis. And when Rakrak spots those familiar blue butterflies drifting around, his suspicion turns into certainty. This is divine will, and he dares not question it. His job is simple: play his role as the god's apostle. Cutting to Nebula watching everything unfold, he's feeling immensely proud of Rakrak. Rakrak must emerge victorious over the Blue Leather Tribe and merge them into the fold, boosting population growth and triggering new advancements. What fascinates Nebula most is Rakrak's decision-making. He chose this path by himself. This shows Rakrak is a creature of powerful will. Oh, and by the way, he's already level 14. Even when facing an enemy group, he still thought about the possibility of allying with them. That strong will makes him a prime candidate for future leadership. All Nebula needs to do now is strengthen Rakrak's faith enough to ensure his decisions naturally align with Nebula's interests. Cutting to the Blue Leather Tribe's leader, the fat bastard scoffs and asks if the oasis belongs to them. Our lizardmen fire back with double the scorn, telling these hobos to get the hell out of their turf. The fat ass follows up with another stupid question, asking what's so special about this place. Rakrak steps forward and calmly explains that this place is where their god resides, the realm of the nameless beetle god. As expected, the chieftain scoffs again, not understanding why a god would talk to a barbarian like Rakrak. He's done talking. He orders Rakrak to leave immediately. If they walk away peacefully, he promises they won't face catastrophic consequences. Rakrak snaps back with full confidence, making it crystal clear that the Blue Leather Tribe can't defeat them, no matter their numbers. Of course, the chieftain thinks Rakrak is insane for ignoring the overwhelming disadvantage he's facing, but Rakrak keeps that sassy, confident smile and simply challenges the leader instead of wasting breath. Unsurprisingly, the big boss is pissed at being challenged by someone he considers beneath him. Rakrak, meanwhile, calls the Blue Leather Tribe a bunch of homeless lambs with nowhere to return to. That's why he's giving them a chance, an opportunity to live under the god's blessing. The fat bastard cracks up in laughter as if Rakrak just told the funniest mom joke ever. He doesn't buy this god nonsense at all. To him, the one with strength rules, and Rakrak is heavily outnumbered. Yet Rakrak's will doesn't waver. He takes his stance and makes it clear he won't falter, not when he fully trusts his god. Losing his patience, the Blue Leather Chieftain charges forward atop his beast, ready to crush Rakrak in one blow. Rakrak prays for his god to grant him the strength he needs to defeat the foe in front of him. As the beast lunges closer, Rakrak's only weapon completely shatters, and the monster swings its paw once again to crush him. At that exact moment, Nebula receives a system notification about the clash between two civilizations. Then another notification follows, officially recognizing these lizardmen as Nebula's tribe, since he has nurtured them closely and they've lived in his domain for quite some time. This unexpected development unlocks a brand new skill, one that's a complete game changer for the current battle. When Nebula activates it, we cut back to Rakrak just as the strike is about to land. But right before the impact, Nebula descends into Rakrak's body. The beast's paw slams down, amusing the Blue Leather Chieftain, who believes Rakrak has been flattened. But his joy dies instantly when he spots Rakrak standing far away, having dodged the attack at the last possible second. Nebula is inside him now, granting a massive power boost and agility Rakrak never had before. The chieftain attacks again, claiming this time he won't miss. Nebula activates his foresight and sizes up the fat lizard's stats. Despite being arrogant and full of himself, the chieftain's stats are painfully ordinary, weak enough for Rakrak to handle even without Nebula. But there's a problem. The beast he's riding won't be easy to deal with, especially while fighting the chieftain simultaneously. That beast is known as the Mandrake. This is exactly why Nebula is possessing Rakrak. The skill grants Rakrak a new stat, known as Divinity, represented by the letter D. A single D equals 200 attribute points. Since Rakrak has 3 Ds attached with every attribute, his every attribute including strength jumps from 30 to 630. That's how Rakrak sprints toward his enemy at lightning speed and literally flips the massive drake over with his bare hands without breaking a sweat. The onlookers are left with their eyes popping out of their skulls. This reaction is exactly what Nebula expected. Even the fat-ass chieftain is in disbelief, refusing to accept the reality in front of him. He assumes it must be some kind of trick. After crawling out from beneath his toppled drake, he lunges at Rakrak with a dagger aimed at his chest. But Rakrak ends the fight with a humiliating, ego-shattering slap straight across the bastard's face. The slap is as overpowering as my mother's, instantly knocking the strength out of the chieftain's knees. With their leader down, Rakrak dares the rest to step forward if they feel brave enough. Just as Nebula predicted, everyone drops their weapons and surrenders politely to Rakrak. Once it's over, Rakrak regains control of his body. He's in complete denial of what just happened. The only explanation he can think of is that his god possessed him. Later that day, the newly joined Lizardmen gather around the altar and finally get to eat. They're shocked when they realize Rakrak's group are the same people who vanished into the wilderness long ago. Their scale color changed due to the cruel conditions they faced. The gray Lizardmen proudly recount their journey, how they followed the nameless beetle god, who guided them to this sanctuary. Otherwise, they would have died, lost in the wilderness one by one. The blue lizards find the idea of having a benevolent god quite fascinating. Honestly, they wouldn't have believed any of this crap if Rakrak hadn't displayed that inhumane strength that clearly transcends the norm. Cut to Rakrak and his friend Zale. The friend is seriously worried about everything that's happened with the Blue Leather tribe. Because of this new tribe joining the Oasis, their population has exploded, almost a 600% increase. At this rate, it won't be long before this place runs out of resources, putting them back in the same miserable situation they once escaped from. But it seems Rakrak already knows what they're supposed to do. They're leaving this place. Of course, Zale hates that idea. They can't just wander the wilderness again without a proper destination. But Rakrak believes their god has already expressed his will. The answer to Zale's worries lies within their newly joined brothers. They will become the catalyst, and through unity, they will figure out the way forward. The next day arrives. Some of the gray Lizardmen are trying to tame this Blue Leather tribe's deceased leader's beast. By the way, one of the big Lizardmen's name is Yuri. Despite their best effort, they aren't able to tame this crazy fella. Right then, Rakrak arrives, making that drake sweat under his familiar presence. The creature recalls getting knocked out with a single swing, a haunting memory that makes the poor guy shudder and step back. But Rakrak is just here to feed this big dude. He offers the creature a few roots to feast on. Of course, the creature hesitates, but eventually starts nibbling on the roots, much to everyone's shock. After all, they'd been trying their ass off to tame this guy. Yet in Rakrak's presence, the monster instantly switches to friendly mode, cozying up to him like they've been buddies forever. Rakrak then offers him more radishes to eat. Since the god chose to spare this creature, there has to be something significant about him, or at least that's what Rakrak believes. That's exactly why he's honoring his god's will by feeding and caring for this creature. After finishing everything, the creature looks around for more. But Rakrak won't cave into Manun's desires. He must learn to be patient. The creature nods in approval and reluctantly steps back, doing exactly what his new master wants. With that, Rakrak proceeds to leave, telling his fellows to inform him if Manun causes another scene. It looks like Yuri has learned something from this situation, but decides to voice it later. We then cut to Rakrak interviewing a blue Lizardman. Turns out, this blue guy has the skills to craft weapons. It was their leader's weird and stringent rules that held him back. If he'd been given proper resources, he could have made even better weapons. The current issue is wood availability. He used leftover wood for fuel needed for weapon making. After gathering all the details about the weapons and materials, Rakrak dismisses the man, promising to meet him tomorrow with a final decision. The next Lizardman to step forward is an old guy missing his left hand. He introduces himself as a wanderer, someone who drifts from place to place, searching for a home. During his travels, he learned how to identify pathways. There are lands he discovered with enough natural resources to sustain their current population. Though he isn't sure if those lands are still unoccupied, there's a good chance other wanderers or tribes might have already claimed them. Rakrak isn't fazed by this. If those occupiers are hostile, he plans to defeat them and take their land. The wanderer acknowledges Rakrak's decision and is willing to trust whatever he has planned. Rakrak follows up with another question, asking if he'd also be willing to trust and believe in the same god. The wanderer responds by pointing at the sky. He puts his faith in the stars. At night, he explains, if one learns to understand the paths of the stars, they can never lose their way. Rakrak promises to put his faith in the stars too, if the wanderer manages to prove his point in the next few days. The wanderer then spends some time familiarizing Rakrak with ropes. Once he's done dumping his knowledge about stargazing, he wants Rakrak to observe the stars at the same time the following night. Right then, Yuri arrives to meet Rakrak. He's clearly here with something on his mind. For a moment, Rakrak suspects it's about Manun, but it's actually not, though Yuri does share one interesting tidbit. Manun may look a bit unhappy with the food, but he's as docile as a dog if you bring him his meals on time. The real reason for Yuri's visit is that he's heard rumors that everyone will soon be traveling out of this place. And for that, they must prepare food so they don't starve during the journey. Today, Yuri noticed how Rakrak managed to tame a voracious drake like it was nothing more than a pet dog. This sparked an idea in him. They could also try taming those buffaloes and secure their food supply. With that epiphany, Rakrak's tribe discovers a new survival skill.